happened to my music, man? I mean, this is Ed Gray. See, you got that low, you got that deal like that. That's like, hi, this is Ed Gray of Commission Radio Show. And welcome to the Saturday version of Politics with Ed. But we don't do it like that. That's kind of slow. We like it kind of rough. Go ahead, hit me.
The champ is here! The champ is here! The champ is here! The champ is here! The champ is here!
Commission Radio Show, the best radio show from Como to the Congo. If you're in Fort Worth, you know where Como's at. And if you're part of the world, you should know where the Congo's at. And if you don't know, ask somebody. You're listening to the Commish. Loved by many, hated by few, respected by all, second to none. And you know what? This is our last day here at this ballpark where I got my start politically. I did my first fundraiser right here. And guess who it was for? It was for me. That's what it was. That's the way I roll like that. But you know, I've been doing this politics thing for a long time. And you know, we have some people that are running for Congress right now. And you know, there's hope in the House.
Yeah.
There's hope in the House. So we have Jane Hope Hamilton, who's running for Congressional District 30 in Dallas, Texas. Hey, come on up to the mic.
How are you?
I'm doing fine. You brought your crew with you and everything. They all... That hope is in the house. I see two or three of them here right now.
We've been knocking on these doors. We've been in these streets talking to voters. That's how we rolling.
So what you been hearing?
Good things. You know, I'm very, very encouraged at the door. And so what tends to happen is, you know, when you knock on the door, maybe someone knows you, maybe they don't know you, but that's your opportunity. And it's nothing like that one-on-one voter contact. And I'm just so encouraged by the fact that people are really responding to my track record, as in the things that I have done, as in the results that I have delivered for North Texas. And so it's all good. We're loving it.
All right, now, you brought this lovely flyer. We're going to go through that, and your staff will make sure I have this and everything. But, you know, I'm looking at this flyer, and number one thing I see is 9.
Number 9 on the ballot.
Jane is 9 on your ballot.
Divine 9, yes.
9? How many people running in this race?
9. Save the best for last.
9 are running. Save the best for last. That's ironic because you're our last guest here at this studio. Man, so how fortuitous.
I try.
I was going to try to work that word in before the end of the week, and guess what? I just did it. Fortuitous. So, you know, look it up. Fortuitous. And who'd you make mad? 9.
What you mean?
I mean, how many people? You said 9. Obviously, it's like I got to go through all them to find.
Listen, you know I've been doing this for a little while, right?
Right.
You want to be first or you want to be last. You do not want to be in the middle with 9 people on the ballot.
Also, the middle is like, it's like, whoa.
I mean, you know, it's okay, but you know how our eyes work, left to right and up to down, and so last is a good spot.
Okay. Now, tell us about yourself. I know I'll say this. The last time we talked politically, it was about Arlington, I believe. A guy came here running for president.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it was Joseph Biden, I believe.
Yeah.
Running for president. You were helping him out in this campaign. What did you do?
I was the statewide director during the presidential primary. And as you recall, Ed, you know, we were not the hot. We were not the hot ticket at that time. And then there were a lot of questions about, you know, why are you over there? And, you know. You know how it went.
Yeah, I know how it went.
But we persevered. And, you know, the president had the opportunity to tell his story and remind people of so many things that he did while serving with Obama and really deliver his experience. And it worked out. But the goal was the goal, and that was to get Trump out. That's what we did.
That's what we did.
That's what we did.
That's what we did. So how long have you been involved in politics?
Woo! Let's see. As soon as I graduated college, I started work. Like literally, I graduated college and I worked on my first campaign right here in Dallas, Texas. In 2000, it was for the former state senator David Kane. It was the last time he won. And then after that cycle, they redistricted him out of his seat. So literally my first campaign, like right after 2000, came with my understanding of gerrymandering and redistricting. So that's something that, since '01, I've had to, learn about and understand. And so that was my start right in Dallas County. Over 20 years. Yes.
That's a long time ago. I remember when David King was the understudy to Jim Maddox.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
right. And
where'd you go to school at?
I went to school in Lake Forest College
Okay.
in Lake Forest, Illinois. It's a small liberal arts college. It's like north of Chicago. But it was, we had like 1,500 students. So it was your turn next. So you had to kind of be on top of your stuff. But when I came here and I did that race for David King, I was, knocking on doors. I was calling voters. And that was really my first experience. And I will never forget, I had to find some people to knock on doors, right? And I'm like, how am I going to get people to knock on doors? I don't have anybody. And I met this guy who had a halfway home.
Okay.
And he said, if you're looking for people to work, he said, I have some people who are almost ready to like get back out. They're at the end. They're really ready to get back out, and they've kind of gone through their rehabilitation and, they're looking for a fresh start. And that's who I use. We loaded up 2 vans, and every day we'd get in the van and we'd get out and we knock on doors. And that was really a great experience for me, because just to be around, a group of people that had a setback and were really struggling, but this was like a new opportunity for them. It was amazing. And I just remember the look of hope on their face, just to be able to start over and have a really good experience working. And so I will never forget that. That meant a lot to me.
So ground
game. Ground game. That's how I started.
And that's obviously what you're doing now.
That's what I'm doing now. And in 2006, you remember when we turned the county blue, I managed that campaign.
Wait a minute, you managed that campaign? Make sure
Yes.
my mic level's up a little bit. You managed that campaign?
I managed that campaign. And it was really interesting because I was 28 years old, and Craig Watkins, he had run in 2002.
You managed Craig's campaign?
I managed the coordinated campaign. So the way that works is that the Democratic Party had a slate of people. So you have Craig Watkins was at the top, and then you had the judges, right? All of the African Americans, so many judges that we have today that are sitting on the bench and that are wonderful. A lot of them were on that ticket in 2006. And so I remember people saying, well, Craig just ran, in 2002, and Dallas is Republican, and, Bush had just come back home. And they were saying, there is absolutely no way y'all are going to win. But what we did is a ground game. We knocked on doors, we got our message in front of people, and what we really focused on was having people understand that the opportunity was huge, right? To have an African American man running for DA who understood what was going on. His office was on MLK, right? And so he knew, he was in the community, he was of the community. He really did understand. He talked a lot about, making sure that people had a chance in court and the Innocence Projects. And we saw that with the number of exonerations, under his administration. And so I'm just so proud that I was a part of that, because it truly did usher in a new era of criminal justice reform. So people throw around the word progressive a lot, right? And it means different things, I think, for different people. But what could be more forward thinking than to say in Dallas County, we are going to turn the entire county from Republican to Democrat and elect the first African-American district attorney in the state of Texas. And that's what we did.
The first. Yeah, I remember.
The very first.
I remember Craig Watkins playing Pop Warner football, YMCA football with my brother. I saw him run. Well, I saw him run 4 touchdowns before he ran for office and everything.
Oh, wow.
So we're 10 years old. So, hey, that's what it is. So we have some good Democrats that are watching. I want to go ahead and recognize Miss Beth Wicker Wells, who's tuned in as well. She just
How are y'all?
tuned And to all of those who are watching, and please share this because we don't want Facebook to shadow ban us. If you are looking at us on Twitter and Instagram, remember, I'm on Twitter and Instagram, Ed Gray 1906. That's right. So for these people that are listening in right now, I want you to go ahead and follow me on there. Yep, that's it. That's part of the rule. You come in, you got to do that. All right, now we'll have our crack legal team. Well, they moving stuff out. So anyway, that's what they doing. But hey, did you see all the stuff they had in there?
I saw it was lined up. It's a serious operation
It
going
wasn't
on.
like that when I came in. I was like, this kind of reminds me of you live in an apartment and they put your stuff out. Because that's what it was. All the stuff is out. And folks, if you still see them in the background, that's what they're doing.
Well, when it's time to go, it's time to go.
Yeah, it's like being at a restaurant and they cleaning up the tables behind you and everything. That's what it is. But, that's what you did with the with the county of Dallas. You cleaned up what was there before.
Hey, had enough, vote Democrat.
That's it.
That's what we said on those signs.
Now, you and I both have worked in Congress. You did more than what I did. I was just an intern for somebody in Congress. What did you do in Congress?
Wow. So I worked, my very first job in Congress was on the U.S. House Democratic Caucus. And let me say why that is important, because that's the place where Democrats go to align on the agenda of the week and the following weeks and to align around messaging. And we met every Wednesday, and so I would have to help getting the agenda together and then I would have to do all the other things that were fun and exciting, like make sure that the bagels were ordered. Right? And so, it was a really good experience. I was very young and I just, took it all in. But one thing that I took away from that experience was that it made such a huge difference when members of Congress in that room decided on the path that they were going to go down that week on the House floor, right? And sometimes when things that will come up were contentious, it didn't go so well on the House floor, meaning that the caucus and the House caucus was the place where we really came together to say, what are we going to do on this bill? What votes do we have? Are there people that want to change things, right? And we need that type of conversation and coming together on the Democratic side more than ever right now. And so that was my very first experiencing, understanding what it meant to bring people over into whatever policy you were trying to promote. And then I worked on the U.S. House Rules Committee. That committee is one of the most powerful committees in Congress today. Why? Because it's the last stop before any bill can hit that House floor. And what I found interesting about that particular committee is that I remember, seeing someone's bill come in one way. By the time we got to 11:30 at night,
It's different.
the bill looked different.
Yeah.
And, it was a place where a lot of staffers would come and, members would come. But it was essential to the process. And then that committee also, we governed the rules on the House floor. So I learned a lot about procedure as well. I would have to give time to members on the Democratic side because we had a 30-minute allotment for any debate on the House floor. So it was really a lot of procedural things, a lot of learning about the legislative process, how you can pull something out of your bill and get it into someone else's and various amendment styles. And so that was just amazing for me. And then I left and I was sort of back and forth between here and Dallas. I would actually be here in the Dallas area during a campaign. And that was usually during an even year. And then I would go back and I would serve on the Hill. And I did that for years. And so my residency was always here. And you're allowed to do that in D.C. If you work on the Hill, you can always keep your residence in the state in which you reside. And so that was great. Also, I worked as a chief of staff. I managed Mark Vesey's congressional race, and we had 13 people in that race. That was pretty wild. So, this is kind of familiar to me. But I managed that race, and then once he won, he said, will you come on board as my chief of staff? Of course, I went back, and I served as his chief of staff, and that experience was different. Because I found myself sitting at tables and being in rooms with people that had a lot of power and had a lot of say, in things that directly affected our lives. And at the time, the congressman was on the Armed Services Committee. And that's really important to this region because we have a lot of defense companies in this region, right? And so I had an opportunity to gain my top secret clearance, and I took it because that gave me access to information that is really hard to get. And so I would go and sit down in the skiff, and they take your phone, and I just sit down there and read. And to have that kind of opportunity from where I'm from, you just don't take it for granted. And you realize that when given an opportunity, you have to get everything you can because you don't know how long you're going to be there, right? You just never know. And you also have to be prepared for the opportunity when it comes to impact the lives of your neighbors, your friends, and your loved ones. And so I'm just happy for that, that opportunity.
Hey, Alec, I think it's time for us to go to a 5:20 break. Maybe perhaps you have, Miss Hamilton was wondering about these CDs. Do you have any?
Yeah.
Do you have any Janelle Gray music over there you can play?
Let's see.
Let's see.
What we got?
Let's play it. Janelle Gray, Handle This. Let's see. That's the name of the CD. You can get this on CD, baby, or you can get it from me, the commission. Hey, I produced the artists. Hey, but I didn't produce any of the songs. But I produced the artists. Let's go ahead and play.
Look at you.
Good afternoon. This is Aisha Redmond, candidate for judge of the 160th District Court. And when I'm in the DFW area, I love listening to the Commish radio show between 1 to 3 on Saturdays. Vote Aisha Redmond for judge.
You got it?
Hi, this is Dominique Collins. I am the judge of Criminal District Court number 4 in Dallas County. I'm also the judge of your Dallas County veterans, serving veterans all over the Metroplex. And when I want to know what's in the hearts, minds of Dallas County, I listen to the Commish radio show.
Look what you've done to me. I never thought I'd be like this until you.
I want to go back. I got to go back to the days where my daddy said, listen, every guy I know trying to get ahead.
Meanwhile, you find it. All right, now clearly that wasn't my daughter. Man. Allie, you have to find that one because we got CD sales on there now. We got everybody going back. Like I gotta go back, and they playing. They looking up Johnny Taylor, T.J. Hooker Taylor. But that's the hook. But that ain't the tailor-made song that I was talking about just a minute ago. So I'm going to end up having to talk about suing people now because of the mere fact that I don't have my songs queued up the way it's supposed to be. And the only one thing that gets me more madder than that is voting rights and the fact that we have to sue the governor to get our voting rights. Could you talk to that?
Please. Look, most recently we had a crazy session, right? And a lot of us had a front row seat to that. It was pretty wild, and as we all know, the Democrats fled to Washington, D.C. But unfortunately, that's not the first or the last time that's going to happen. How do we know this? Because in 2003, you may remember this, Ed, they had the Killer D's. And they left, and they went to Ardmore. And then the Senate Democrats left and went to Albuquerque. Well, that was in 2003. That following session, in 2011, there was a discriminatory redistricting map that passed out of that session. And there was a discriminatory voter photo ID law. You may have remembered all of the issues that came along with that. So I decided to sue. Along with some other plaintiffs, we sued the governor. And we sued him twice, and we won both times. Now, of course, people were saying, this is Texas and, Republican judges, y'all are wasting y'all time. We won. And the reason why we won was because in 2011, we were still under the Voting Rights Act, the pre-clearance. We still had Section 5.
What's pre-clearance?
And so, right, so...
we got some of them, they don't know what pre-clearance is.
No, absolutely. So, inside of the voting rights, which was really Section 4, but underneath that is also Section 5. It encompasses Section 5 as well, right? And what was designated is that 12 states would be under pre-clearance, meaning that anytime you wanted to do anything with regard to voting, you had to actually be pre-cleared through the Department of Justice, right? That this state, those 12 states, they were so hideous and they had so much baggage from years past of discrimination, of racism, that they could not be left to their own devices, that they could not be trusted, right, with the sacred right to vote. That's really what that came down to. And so when that was struck down in 2013, and I'll never forget it because Mark VC was a freshman member of Congress and I was serving as chief of staff. And it was struck down on the basis of, racism is no longer an issue anymore. We're past that in this country. And these laws are antiquated. We don't need these states under pre-clearance. And so what we've seen is what just happened as a result of that, right? Because we did not have that protection, we see what happened this last session. We look at bills like SB 1. We look at what happened with the redistricting. And so my goal is, in serving as the next member of Congress representing Congressional District 30, one of the first things that I will do and that will be a priority is to make sure the John Lewis Voting Rights Act passes.
All right, so
because we really need that pre-clearance reinstated.
Where is District 30 at?
Okay, I'm glad you asked me that. So we've got Uptown. First of all, let me say this.
Okay.
It's a beautiful district.
Okay, that's what you're supposed to say.
It really.
Supposed to say.
And I'm going to tell you, it's so diverse. It is really diverse in terms of geographically, in terms of the landscape, in terms of the people and our background. It's beautiful. We've got Uptown. We have downtown. We have parts of Pleasant Grove. We've got South Dallas. We have Oak Cliff. We have.
That's my hood.
That's your hood. That's mine too. Shout out to the South Oak Cliff champions. We love them and we're so proud of them. We've got DeSoto. We've got Lancaster. We have Cedar Hill. We've got Wilmer. And then if you take it over on the other side, this is the first time, and this is a redistricting thing, right, where they brought CD 30 over the Tarrant County line. So we have a little bit of Arlington, just a little tad. And then we have Grand Prairie.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about in Grand Prairie?
It's a 2-county around 360. And it's precinct 2. So Devin Allen is the commissioner. She has endorsed me. And I'm thankful for that. But we've got, we also now have GP. So this district, for the first time ever, it came over into Tarrant County. And I'm really excited about that because I am the only candidate in this race of 9 that can truly speak to the differences between, both of those sides. Having worked for a member of Congress who represented Tarrant County. So I've got a lot of experience over here. I have the support of the House Democratic Caucus Chairman Chris Turner. I have support of former State Senator Wendy Davis, Devin Allen, who's a Precinct 2 here, Commissioner. She's endorsed me. Roy Charles Brooks has endorsed me. And so, and Marvin Sutton, who a lot of people know. So I'm really excited about, and then obviously, of course, Congressman Mark Vesey. But I'm really excited about the support that I have.
Commissioner John Wiley Price.
Yes, on the Dallas County side, Commissioner John Wiley Price has endorsed me, and Ron Kirk, Chad West, he's a councilman, obviously, Diane Ragsdale, the Honorable Diane Ragsdale. I was talking to her one day on the phone, and I'll never forget this. She said to me, we were talking about issues going on, and she said, Jane, systems create conditions. And that's words spoken no more truer. I mean, she's absolutely right? When we think about all the things that we're fighting, we're fighting for our voting rights and we're fighting for just the ability to be free in this country. And we're thinking about criminal justice reform, right? All of those things come down to systems in this country that are broken. and that we really need to look at, and we need to get to the root cause of a lot of these issues. And so that's something that's always just stuck with me. Her words have really stuck with me with regard to that.
When we come back, I'll ask the question of the day, and it's about endorsements and the endorsements you didn't get. But meanwhile, folks, that lawsuit that I have against Alec has been resolved through the courts, and well, it's already been resolved. So hopefully Alec will have the right drop. We won't be back in the woods this time with T.J. Hooker Taylor. We will be handling this, and you can get this on CD, baby. But, you know, meanwhile, let's see if I have to sue Alec again.
Oh, man.
In the club, I see you looking out the corner of your eye. Trying to act like you don't know what's up, like you didn't even see me walk by. You stay by the bar drinking, but I know what you are thinking. You wanna know if I can move, or watch me put these moves on you. You pretend that you're unsure, but I know that you just want your hands on my thighs while you look in my eyes. Get a glance on my lips, say, can you handle this? Give in to this temptation and accept this invitation. Get out on the floor when I tip it down low. Watch me bring it up slow. Wanna give you such restraints don't seem to let me move. Even though my suspicions I came through, so it's on when I come on the squad, put together a case and plan a high-speed train.
Version of Can You Name That Tune? So
Wow.
so can you handle this? So go ahead and get the go ahead and check it out. You can also check it out on YouTube as well, and there's one track on that is Private Detective. So hey, check that out. But we need a private detective to figure out why you didn't get the endorsement of Congresswoman Ada Bernice Johnson. What's up on that? Obviously didn't give it to you.
I have not spent much time thinking about that, actually. I am just so grateful for the endorsements I do have. Ryan Kirk being the first African-American mayor in Dallas and ambassador, that is huge, right? And then all of the other endorsements I have. Commissioner John Wiley Price. And the thing about the commissioner is that I've been in the streets with him. We've been working.
Wait a minute, he's actually walked the streets with you?
Listen, we have been working for years together. And so these are people who know me and they know my work. And that means that they can actually speak credibly about that and about what I've done. And that, it just feels very...
that must mean a lot for him to walk there.
It means a lot. It means a lot. And it means a lot to have the support of people like him and Congressman Mark Vesey. I served as his chief of staff.
Is he going to walk too?
He's going to walk too. We all walking. Everybody's walking because that's what we do. And so I'm just grateful for the support that I have. And this is really important.
Okay.
I have the largest number of precinct chair support throughout the district. By far. It's not even close. Why? Because these are people who know my work. You know what I mean? 2006, campaign manager, turning the county blue. 2008, I came over to Tarrant County. I helped get Wendy Davis elected when she ran the first time for state senate. 2010, managed the campaign of Dallas County Judge Clay Jenkins.
You managed Clay Jenkins' campaign?
Absolutely. 2012, managed Mark Vesey's race. 2020, took a leave from my job to serve as the statewide director for Biden. So These are people who are endorsing me, who know me. They know my work. They've been there with me. I've been with them in the trenches, and we've been getting it done. And so I cannot be more proud of the endorsements that I have. And I'm just very happy about that. And that's what I'm focused on. But the true endorsement and the ones that I really need, right, is that of the voter. And so that's what I'm working hard to get.
Working hard to get, how many hours of sleep you get?
You don't get a lot of sleep during a campaign. We have a saying, we doze, we don't close. That's what we say on my team.
So what's that?
We doze, we don't close.
Okay.
It's always time to work. It's always time to work. You just, it's one of those things where you wake up early, you go to sleep late at night. It's a lot of work to get done. And I'm doing it. The team is doing it.
Well, I can testify to that because of the fact that when I ran for office, I didn't get any sleep either. So
No.
there's plenty of time to sleep on March 2nd.
There's plenty of time to sleep, but this election is most likely going to go into the runoff, for sure. We've got 9 people in this election, and just mathematically, it gets really tricky, and so I plan to be in that runoff. So for us, it'll be until May 24th.
May 24th.
Yeah.
Oh, so you just was straight up honest, because a lot of people, they always say that, it's like, there'll be 25 people in the race, and they say, well, I think I can, knock on a lot of doors, and I think I can just win this thing straight out. You're like, it's 25 people in the race.
Well, sometimes people either don't know any better not to say something like that, or they're being disingenuous.
It'd have to be, because I've been around long enough to be like, you can't do that. It's like,
Nah, it doesn't work like that.
you have 5 people in the race, it's going to be a runoff on it.
It doesn't work.
It's not going to,
But you know what I'm really encouraged by is that, what I've been hearing at the door is that people appreciate my experience. A lot of times when you're young, I started out really young. People say, oh, you wanna work in Congress, you need to go do this first. Oh, you wanna go do policy, you need to go do this first. Every time someone told me I needed to go do something, you know what I did? I did it. And so I have done my homework, and I am ready. I am the most prepared person in this race to serve as the next member of Congress.
There's nobody that can compare to you. Is that what you believe?
I worked on the U.S. House Rules Committee. I've worked on a Democratic caucus. I've served as a chief of staff. And that matters. Why does that matter? Because we have a lot that's on the line right now. We're in a global pandemic. We have millions of dollars in the state of Texas being dispersed by agencies, right? And so we just have too much on the line to get this wrong. And while I think that it is admirable that we have so many people running for this seat, I am the most prepared. I have really done the work. I know what I'm doing as soon as I get there on day one. I know what committees would make sense for me to request. I know what that process looks like. I know how to request a committee. I understand the need to rally other colleagues on the Hill to try to get on that committee, which is going to serve the district, right? And I have relationships there. So I can pick up the phone and call Yebby, who is Jim Clyburn's chief of staff, right? I can pick up the phone and call members of Congress who I've known for years and that I've worked with their staffers. And so I feel really good about that. I can call professional committee staffers, and all of those things really matter because relationships matter on the Hill. You're only one of 435 members, but I will tell you this. It is my job, and it will be my job, to be concerned about one district, and that's Congressional District 30. And that's what I will be thinking about every single day.
Okay. You're going to be on the Hill.
Yeah.
If the voters select you, it's that endorsement you was talking about. Criminal justice and police reform.
Oh my goodness. So important.
What can you do? Do you believe in Black Lives Matter? That's just a straight up question. What do you believe?
Black lives.
I asked that to the Republican guy that was here the other day.
Of course, Black Lives Matter. And what we're saying is that everybody needs to recognize that to be a fact. For me, this is not a tagline. It is my life. It's my personal experience. I was jerked out of my car, dragged across the sidewalk, beaten, thrown in jail, and then falsely charged with a felony offense.
This happened to you?
This happened to me. And this was before people could go on Facebook Live. So I'm just out on the sidewalk, beat up, and people are passing me by like, oh my God, what's going on? The police did this, the Dallas Police Department, an officer in the Dallas Police Department. And so, you know, for me, I was really confused. You know, it happened so fast. And then afterwards, I had to fight for my name, right? Because this came after we turned the county blue, right? After these wins, after Wendy Davis and Chris Turner got in and all of, you know, had all of these people that, you know, but when you are black, they don't ask you who you work for. They don't care about, you know, any of that. They see someone that they don't value. And that's what happened. My life didn't have any value to that particular police officer. And so after that tragedy, and it is traumatic, I had to then fight for my good name to make sure that those things and that charge did not stick. And you know, it was unfortunate. I had one lawyer who told me to plead down to a misdemeanor, and I went clean off on him because my thing was this: why would I do that? And that's how broken our criminal justice system
is anyway.
That's the problem.
You plead down and so you can get out.
You plead, and we have to really push back against that and fight against that. Because for me, not really understanding the system, and it felt so big to me, and I felt so small. But I knew one thing, I knew I was gonna fight. And so when I'm saying I'm fighting for criminal justice reform, and as the next member of Congress, I will vote for and fight for the George Floyd Act, that's personal to me. It's extremely personal to me.
Well, my assumption is you said that you were hurt during this.
Absolutely.
Okay. Physically hurt.
That's right.
Health care. I mean, obviously, did you have to take health care, but you probably can afford that kind of thing. But what about affordable health care and low-end prescription drugs?
Well, that's interesting that you would say you probably can afford that kind of thing.
I mean, well, because you got pearls on.
Hey, listen, I'm an Alpha Kappa Alpha woman. Of course I have
the reason why you have
on my pearls, right?
Okay.
That's how we do it.
All right.
But, you know, look, when we talk about when we use the word afford, right? It's interesting because my son is 3 now. Mm. And when I was pregnant, I have 2. Okay. I have a 7-year-old and a 3-year-old.
What are their names?
Sloan and Austin.
Okay.
My babies. And when I was pregnant with Austin, who's now 3, I was actually home with Sloan and I fainted. And thank God, you know, this girl she's always been very smart and quick, but she gave me the phone, and I ended up calling my husband, and he came, and I probably should have called 911. I did not. We ended up going to the hospital, and for a while they were like, oh, you're exhausted, and thank God my doctor came in, and we did a test for blood clots, and it turned out that I had a blood clot that went from my right leg, and it split off on both sides of my lung. So when I say I am blessed to be here and I am blessed to be alive every day, for me, I never forget that. The interesting part was that after that day, and I will never forget this, she said, Jane, sit up. And I sat up on the end of the bed, and she said, you're going to have to give yourself blood thinners twice a day for the rest of your pregnancy and for some months after that. And I said, like, with a needle? She's like, yes. And I was like, I can't do that. I mean, I never really felt like I'd never really been sick in my life. And now I'm going, all the way on the other end of that extreme, giving myself shots with needles in my stomach. I did that for the remainder of my pregnancy and for 3 months after that, of Lovenox. But let me tell you, when I had to buy that medicine, $20,000 every single time. And it was something like a 30-month. You had to get it every 30 days, every month. And I thought to myself, what is going on? That prescription drug, something that I need for my life, to be alive, to stay alive, right? to stay alive and for me to keep my child alive is that expensive. And so when I'm saying affordable health care and I'm talking about lowering prescription drugs, that's a lived experience for me. But you know, we are the greatest country in the world. This should not be the case. So I'm going to be working really hard to make sure that we get these prescription drug prices down, because this is ridiculous and it's out of control.
Okay. We've had a fast-paced interview.
Yeah.
As we go to a close, well, hey, let's close it. Tell us why we should vote for you.
Yes.
Jane Hope Hamilton.
My name is Jane Hope Hamilton, and I'm asking for your vote to be your next member of Congress representing Congressional District 30, because I am prepared to serve on day one in such a critical time. Having served as the campaign manager in 2006, helping to turn this county blue and electing the first African American DA, having helped Wendy Davis get elected in 2008 to the Texas State Senate, having managed the campaign of Clay Jenkins, Dallas County Judge, and Mark Vesey. But also, at a time when our country really needed to beat Donald Trump, I stepped up to that, and I served as statewide director during the primary, working for Joseph Biden. I am so very prepared for such a time as this, and I'm ready. And, you know, the experiences that I have working on the Hill and serving in Congress as a chief of staff lend me the expertise and the knowledge that I need to do what we have to do to bring jobs, good paying jobs, health care to our district. And while we are at this time when we know we have millions of dollars that are coming to Texas, we have to be ready to take advantage of that and to make sure that that money gets down to the people. That is going to be my priority, to see to it that Congressional District 30 gets the resources that we need and that we deserve. And I have the results to show that when I fight for something, I bring the wins. We have to not just only expect for our leaders to fight. We're all fighters. We're fighting every day for our lives and for the health and well-being of our families. We need leaders who are not going to just fight. We need wins. We need people to deliver for our communities. That's what I've been doing for over 20 years right here for North Texas families, and that's what I will do as your next member of Congress representing Congressional District 30. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. When is early voting, and when is the election itself?
Early voting is February 14th, and that's when it starts. So show me some love, please, people. And Election Day is on March 1st.
You know, that's pretty clever. Every politician comes in here.
Hey, how you doing? This is Ed Gray of the committee.
And that's the reason why I want to say I'm Ed Gray. And I support the election being held on February 14th. You can show all of the candidates love, because guess what? Voter turnout is low in the state of Texas, and we have to do something to make sure that voter turnout is right. We've covered a lot of ground here today, but one of the things that we have to do is stand on solid ground. The same solid ground that John Lewis did, well, in Selma, Alabama. Our voting rights are being threatened every day. Every hour. We have to defend democracy. And the best way to defend it is by voting. All right, let's play a couple of drops and we'll see you at Bedford, Texas. See you later. Take care.
Hey, how you doing? This is Ed Gray of the Commission Radio Show. Stay tuned and tune in and be up to speed on everything in social justice, human rights.